It's the only thing that slowly stops the
Coming into this year, this is one of the most highly anticipated movies of the year. It's out today. I saw it. Let's go back to Derry, along with Stephen King. Let's talk about It Chapter 2. It Chapter 2 takes place 27 years after the first one, which was released in 2017. This one is also directed by Andy Muschietti, who also did the first one, and also did a movie called Mama. And we're back in Derry 27 years later after the end of part 1, and things start to go wrong. So Mike, being the only member of the Losers Club who stayed in Derry, this figures out that it has come back. So he calls up the gang and tells them, hey, come on down to Derry, we need to defeat him once and for all. This movie is 2 hours and 49 minutes, and I've heard a lot of complaining online that people aren't liking the runtime. I did not feel the runtime at all until the very end. We have this movie. Unlike the first movie, where the first movie was just the Young Losers Club, this one goes back and forth. You will have flashbacks to when they were younger, as they're older. The older cast they are good, and also I think a little bit underused because of the back and forth. We have all the kids from the first movie. In this one, we have Jessica Chastain as Beverly. We have James McAvoy as Bill. We have Bill Hader as Ricky. Jay Ryan as Ben. Andy Bean as Stanley. We also have his last name is Mustafa as Mike, and James Ransone as Eddie. I thought really they did a really nice job of casting people who would really look like them. The only one I really had, and he wasn't a bad actor, the adult who played Ben, for some reason I just wasn't feeling him as Ben. I'm not quite sure why. They like I said, they brought all the kids back, so there's a lot of strong acting in this movie. Bill Skarsgård comes back as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, and he is just as good as in the first one. This one, they give him a little bit more screen time, though, as he scares the shit out of everyone. There are a lot of jump scares in this movie. Even the ones that are very, you know it's going to happen, or you know something's there, it scared, or it will make you jump. There are a couple of really effective ones, I have to say. Unlike something like The Nun last year or La Llorona earlier this year, the jump scares feel more scarier, because I think one of the things is we actually like these characters. I know in my first review for the first It, I talked about how much I enjoyed the characters, and in this movie it really did carry over. If you enjoyed the first one, you will really like the character predicament. I've heard a lot of people say that the movie feels disjointed, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The movie does jump back and forth in time. Most of the times it's to show you something that happened to the kids during a certain period of time from the first movie that we didn't see. And actually, when they explained it to me and the reason it's happening, I was like, wow, that's a really effective tool, and it fits the story that what we didn't see in the first movie. The movie does get long because in the second act, all the members are asked to do something, but they have to do individual missions. So you're literally having 5 different stories happen at the same time. So I think that's one of the factors in the length of the movie. But like I said, I was so invested with the characters because of what happened in the first movie and their continuing story now, that it didn't bother me. I would have to say they gave Mike a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie, since he's the one who has to bring everyone back to Derry. and he's the only one who, because of the events, he's the only one that had memories of what happened 27 years previously. I also have to say, Bill Hader as Richie was I think he probably stood out the most in the movie of anyone, for a good reason. He continues his jokiness. In the first movie, he had a lot of jokes, he had a lot of quips, especially between him and Eddie. And in this movie, he continues that, and he's just like one-line machine. And I think this is where some people might have a problem with the tone, because there is a lot of comedy, especially with with Richie, but his comedy works and he's funny, unlike something like a horror movie we saw earlier in the year in Us, where I felt the father was never funny. I just wanted him to die. Richie was really funny in this movie. I like the individual stories that were being told that was carried over from the first movie, especially to see where these people are now. If I was to say anything bad about the movie, I will say this: I didn't like Ben's story, or you can tell, without spoiling it, that this was written a while ago and for a certain archetype, and I kind of didn't like Ben's story, because it's probably a pretty bad one, and especially be told in this day and age. That could just be me though. The ending felt its length at the end, because what we're asked to do is we're asked to not only repeat the ending from part one more or less, and repeat the lesson that was learned in that movie, but it kind of does have a Lord of the Rings kind of vibe. Like, okay, is this where the movie's gonna end? No, okay, let's continue on. Not that any of them are bad, they absolutely make sense. In the total scheme of things, I just think they could have been at least a little, truncated. I really enjoyed this movie though. I know this movie is getting like middling reviews right now, and I don't know why. This is a movie, yes, it's 2 hours and 49 minutes, but at least it had a story, it had enjoyable characters, had a story, and no one was really bad acting. I liked the jump scares. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise was really good. And where a movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was 2 hours and 45 minutes of what the hell's the point of this, I thought this was way stronger. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did have likable characters, but the movie just dragged and it had no point. I thought this one was really well done. I will say this, the shot designs here were excellent. I love the way that they will tell stories between what happened to the past person, to the child, and what's going on with the adults, all seemingly very well intertwined. At some points, it's very difficult to not very difficult. At some points, it's so smooth the way it transitions. Like, it doesn't even like there are no stop gaps. We don't stop and see like dream sequences. Like, you'll start seeing the scene, all of a sudden the camera will either do a pan or do a zoom around, and all of a sudden you'll either see them as an adult, as a child, or one of the two. And it's really like great. This is a well-crafted movie, I have to say. Even to the point where I got to give Andy Muschietti a lot of credit. The sequences build, even the horror sequences, they feel like genuinely scary. I like this movie. I don't like it as much as the first one, just because, once again, I'm not a big fan of the way Ben's story was told. Yes, I understand this is based on a book. Even the length didn't bother me, because, once again, just like Lord of the Rings, this movie was getting to the end of a saga and they're kind of just taking their bow. So it didn't even bother me that much. But, like I said, the length didn't bother me as much. I kind of didn't like Ben's story. And that's pretty much it. This is a really solid movie. And to end it all, I give it Chapter 2 a 9. This is probably one of the better horror movies, and in a year where a lot of the movies that had to end didn't really end well. I had no issues with this. This is a really fun time at the movies. I can't wait to see it again. Did you see It Chapter 2? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Did the length feel too long for you? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and next time.